Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. Today we're going to be talking about CADWorx, Integraph CADWorx P&ID. My name is Elvira Ballard and I will be hosting today's webinar. Before we start, I'd like to mention a couple of important things. We frequently get questions about the recorded webinar versions, and I'd like to show you that we made it a little bit easier for you to find all the recorded webinars. If you go to Kuwait website under Integraph CADWorx, CADWorx and analysis, you can find under CADWorx Plant, you can find all the recorded webinars. Let me show you here on the screen CADWorx Plant webinars. You can find and view them by subject. They're all here. And on each CADWorx page, you can do the same. And in addition to this, we also have them all, as always, we have them on our Insider blog in the right-hand side column under Webinars CADWorx. You can click on the link here and you will be able to view them here as well. I would also like to mention and show you quickly our CADWorx University online brochure that you can view online. CADWorx University will take place from September 27 to 29, Houston, Texas. The link to this brochure will be sent to you via email after the webinar. You can navigate through the brochure and click on the links. From here you can go to the CADWorx University website. You can also register from here. And you can also read all the sessions and classes that will be offered at the CADWorx University. We will be offering more than 45 classes that you can learn from, and you will be able to apply on your first day back at work. You will be able to discover and learn CADWorx 2011, the next generation technology, and of course hands-on labs that will offer valuable knowledge in a variety of subjects. So you can browse and read about them here in our brochure. Again, the link to this brochure will be sent to you via email. And also a quick reminder that our early bird registration for CADWorx University expires at the end of July 31st. So if you register early, you will be able not only save, but also enter a chance to win an iPod. Details about that also on our blog. Okay, today's webinar, let me go back to the PowerPoint here. Okay, during today's webinar, we will demonstrate how by using CADWorx P&ID Professional, you can get more out of your AutoCAD-based P&IDs. You will learn how to make your old drawings intelligent, how to generate instrument loop diagrams using CADWorx loops, and how to use CADWorx Internet Publisher to publish your intelligent P&ID projects, allowing drawings and linked data to be accessed and marked up from within a browser. We will cover everything from the easy creation of intelligent P&IDs to datasheet capabilities for instrumentation and equipment. And our presenter today is Sonia Deljadilo. Let me introduce quickly Sonia. Sonia is our Senior CADWorx Application Specialist for CADWorx Solutions at Integraph CADWorx and Analysis Solutions Group. She joined CADWorx and Analysis Solutions Group in January 2009 and is responsible for technical product demonstrations, training on CADWorx Plant Professional, CADWorx P&ID, CADWorx Field Pipe, and support to CADWorx and Analysis existing dealer channel and clients. She has 5 years experience teaching designers, engineers, owner-operators, and EPC firms. And before we start, we will open the floor for questions after the presentation, but please feel free to type your questions into the question tab during the presentations, and we will get to them. And with that, I'd like to welcome Sonia.
Thank you, Olivia. Elvira, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. To start off, I'd like to just present to you what the agenda is for the next hour. What I'd like to do is give you guys a basic introduction to what CADWorx P&ID can do. And we are not going to get in depth into any subject. The mean behind this webinar is just to give you a small overview, a brief introduction to the different things you can do in CADWorx P&ID. To start off, we'll go in and we'll just do some basic drafting, bring in a couple of pieces of equipment. We'll insert some lines, some valves. We'll go through the line numbering scheme. We'll add some arrows. We'll connect to the database. We'll take a close look at the database. We'll take a closer look at the different blocks that CADWorx P&ID, the P&ID symbols that CADWorx P&ID offers. And then we'll just go briefly and just spend a few minutes on opening a drawing that has blocks that were not created in CADWorx P&ID, and we'll go through the process of actually converting those blocks with AutoCAD attributes, converting them into intelligent CADWorx symbols. After that, we'll take a close look at just some of the new tools that CADWorx P&ID offers. We're not going to go in depth into them. We're not going to go through all of them, but I did choose a couple that that I believe you'd enjoy seeing. After that, we'll cover briefly how to generate a instrumentation loop diagram. We'll cover Internet Publisher, and then we'll briefly look at data sheets, how to create instrument data sheets and equipment data sheets. Okay, let me just go ahead and end this. Okay, so to begin, what I'll do is I'll choose an imperial template, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to start a new project. So when I go ahead and I choose to create a new project, I have the ability to tell the program whether I want to work with an Access database, an Oracle database, or a SQL Server database. Now, this setup looks very similar to CADWorx Plant Professional. So again, if you see this is familiar, it's because this setup is exactly the same as it is in Plant. Now, to choose Access, I'm basically going to go ahead and choose that database option, and I'm going to go ahead and place it into my project folder. And for my database name, I'm just going to go ahead and create a name for that MDB file. Now, before I exit, I'm going to take you into the table setup. This table setup is basically a preview of the different tables that are inside the database. So if you can, as you can see, we have a documentation table that consists of this different information. The character here is just the allowable number of characters allowed when we type in information. The second field here is the field that you see in the database table, and the third column here is the text field that actually gets previewed in CADWorx P&ID if you decide to actually fill out this information. So, you know, it's very easy to come in and add fields. Okay, so I'm going to just come in and I'm going to add one simple one here. I'm going to say checked by. So this is how it's going to appear inside CADWorx P&ID, and in the database we'll have this field added to that documentation table. So if we can kind of take a look at the different tables. We can see here at the valves table that we have some purchasing information, purchase order number, pricing, etc. Okay, so this is again all the information that you'll see previewed or will be available as you insert components inside CADWorx P&ID. Okay, so once I've created my project, what I'll do is I'll choose to create a new drawing with a database, with that database option. So I'm going to go ahead and call this P&ID P&ID1. And the first thing you want to do is you want to go into the setup, and you have different things you can control here. The one thing we want to first take a look at is the edit configuration file. Here you can see that the program actually allows us to work in different types of units. We can work in imperial, metric, metric. We also have a list of variables we can change within the program for the project configuration. One of the things I want to change is this auto repeat. What this auto repeat does, if we just hit the F1 button, it shows us the help menu. What this auto repeat does, it just basically repeats the insertion of components. So if I'm inserting a valve and I don't want to go and choose a valve again, it'll automatically repeat that insertion process. So I'm going to have that turned on. And a few other things you can change are, we are going to be creating loop diagrams, so I'm going to go in and change the output directory. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that here in this loops folder. And for the template directory, I'm going to place that here. Now, one more thing we can do is we have the ability to create a library file. What the library file is, well, we call it a menu symbol file. This basically consists of all the different blocks that we're using for a specific project. So here we have a menu symbol file called this. What I've done is I basically copied this and I created one called intergraph. I basically renamed it. So I'm going to be working with that intergraph menu symbol. And you would typically have these different menu symbols available for the different types of projects you're working on, so you can distinguish between the blocks you work with in one project and another. Now, one thing we can do, and we're not going to do that for this presentation, is you can actually turn on the spec control option. If we take a look at what this does, this basically allows us to not only specify a specification, but if we want to use the same specifications that we have available within CADWorx Plant Professional, let's say we're using the same database for the P&ID and the plant database, what we can do is we can turn this spec control on and specify the correct specification directory that we're using for CADWorx Plant. And then as we're inserting valves, we'd have the same descriptive information that we see in CADWorx Plant inside P&ID. Okay, so that's it for now. That's all I wanted to change here. I'm going to save that. Now, for the layer configuration, similar to plant, we can come in and not have to do anything. We have our layer scheme already set for us. If we want to add anything, we could come in here and add a layer. We are going to be adding we're going to be creating our own symbol, and so I'm going to place that symbol on this layer I'm creating, and I'm just going to assign it any color there, and I'm going to go ahead and say okay. So now I've added a layer to my layer scheme. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a border. We can go surf a network to find the correct border we want, or we can choose some of the ones that are already pre-existing inside CADWorx P&ID. I'm going to go ahead and choose this ANSI and accept that. Now, I am not going to come in and set a size and a specification, so I can show you so you can actually see that we don't have to come in and set that right away. We can always do that afterwards. So as I inserted that block, we get this little attribute dialog box. If you want to, you can fill these out. It's basically populating all the information down here in the title block. Now, the first thing we want to do when we draw P&ID is make sure we can fit all our equipment. So I'm not going to draw all the equipment. I'm just going to go ahead and start off with this elliptical, with this vertical tower here with the skirt, and accept that. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw that. Now, as I'm drawing this vessel, you can see that some labels are coming in. This is configured in the menu symbols editor. You can have different blocks come in, and then those blocks be tied together. So as I fill in the information here, I can come in and I can say this is vessel 101, and the vessel 101 would be populated here in addition to this other block we have here for that label. For document, we have a documentation tab. We can come in and attach external data if we want to. So here we can go to the engineering file that actually created this vessel. So I'm going to select that PVI file. Remember, in additional data, I went in and I added a field, so I said check by, so I added this field. So here I could come in and actually type in some information if I wanted to with that. Now, since this document is actually attached to this vessel, we can actually, from here, anybody viewing this P&ID through the actual drawing or through the published project with the Internet Publisher, what they can do is they can select that that actual vessel and open any document that has been attached as external documentation inside CADWorx P&ID. So here we can see that that vessel, that PVI file that was actually attached to that vessel. So I'm going to go ahead and close that here, and if we want to add additional data to the actual vessel, so this information actually goes into the database, we can do that here. I'm just going to make one simple change. I'm going to type in manufacturer is actually Intergraph for this vessel. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So we can see here right away that the information I inputted got displayed in the label and that tag. Now, what I want to do is take a closer look at the actual database. So if I take a close look at the database, we already have a record inside the database for that vessel. And what I want to do is go in there and make a few changes to that vessel and generate a report. So before I generate a report, I'm just going to go into my database project information, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in some information here. So I'm going to call this P&ID overview for that project. I'm just going to assign any project number. For customer, I'm just going to write the insider blog here. And user, I'll type in my initials. Location, and for engineering company, I'll type in Intergraph. So I have all the basic information for my project data. Before I run my report, I want to come in and take a look at that vessel. So this is the vessel that's actually in the P&ID. I can come in here and make any changes that I want. I can type in the engineering information that we need for that vessel, or any of this descriptive information. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to make a few changes here. I changed it from vessel 101 to 201. I added a size, a length. We can view that same document we attached to that actual vessel in the P&ID. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and exit, and I'm going to run a report. So to run a report, I can simply go to reports. I can run a report on vessels. I can create a filter if I want. I'm going to go ahead and just accept these defaults here. And we can see a report being generated. Here's that information I actually typed in. And the drawing is giving me my drawing name and the actual vessel name that's inside that, that P&ID project. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to P&ID, and since we have made some changes, we have to remember we're working with a live database, so any changes that are done in the P&ID database, as a drawing is opened or synchronized, we do see those changes. So as I synchronize the drawing, we'll get a red alert. The text shows up in red and tells us, hey, these changes have occurred in the database. So all you have to do is basically come here and accept that change by going to change attributes. Now, when we started off, you saw that I didn't go in and I did not specify a specification or a size. I don't have to do that to start drawing in CADWorx P&ID. I can just start drawing. I'm going to come in and just draw this line here. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to choose a couple of valves. I can choose from, see, this is that Intergraph menu symbol file. So this menu symbol file contains all of these different blocks. So all of these blocks are available for us to use for this specific project. I'm going to come in and drop in that, that valve, and I'm going to come in and just choose another one here in this different menu symbol dialog. So as I'm inserting these valves, you can also see that the lines, break for us. I can delete the line, and it gets the line gets mended. You can see down here in my command line that what's going on. The line got mended as I removed it. The line got removed from the database, and if I simply come in here and I do an undo, that line gets added again to the database. Now, this here's this line here I drew incorrectly. So instead of it being a primary line, it should actually be a secondary line. So the program lets us come in here very easily, and I can change the different the process on this line. So I can specify it is a major line, but it's a secondary line, so it'll come in and change the line type for us. Now, if we do want to go ahead now at this point, assuming we've drawn our P&IDs and we want to go back and apply a specification of size, what we can do is we can very simply come in and choose the correct specification, come in and choose a correct size, and then we can just use P&ID assign utilities to assign the specification for that specific line, and then come in and assign the size. So now for that line, we have a line that's no longer non-intelligent, doesn't have any information. Now it knows it's 150-pound rating. It's a 2-inch line. We can also come into this line and we can manually type in a line number if that's what we want to do. Or later you'll see how we can more dynamically apply a line number to a process line. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to type in the service, the count for this line, a specification, and accept that. So now this line understands it's a 2-inch, it understands it has a line number, it knows what size, what type of specification it has, and all we have to do is basically annotate this line. So I'll come in and annotate that line. Okay, so it's that easy to go in and draw something and later come back and actually make that intelligent. Now I'm going to have another line that's going to connect to another piece of equipment here. So I'm going to go to my pumps, and I can come and take a look at the different blocks that are available. And I'm going to grab this centrifugal pump, and I'm going to apply it. I'm going to place it right in here. Place a tag here in that label. And as we insert the pump, the first thing we want to do is name it, of course, and I'm going to go in and just call this pump 101. I can also add documentation to this pump, so I can come in and look for the correct documentation I want to apply to that. I can open this and we can kind of look to see what we're attaching. We're actually adding this dimensional file to this actual pump, so this file will always be part of that pump. If someone needs to go back and look at it, they can through P&ID or through IP. So now I'm going to go ahead and close that and close this. So now we have pump 101, and the next thing we want to do is, instead of just going in there and drawing things, what I want to do is start off a different way. We want to start off and indicate sizes. So I'm working with an 8-inch. It's going to reduce down to 4-inch. We're going to have a little control station control loop in there, and we also want to go ahead and set up a line number. So if you see this dialog box is very similar to the dialog box for line numbering in CADWorx Plan, so it's very similar, so there's not much difference here. And it's very easy to configure. So here what I've basically done is I've told it these are the different categories I want to have for a line number. And I set that up, and I'm going to tell it I want it to set on dynamic so it picks up the current sizes. So I turn that on. Now another thing we want to do is make sure we have the correct information for the process line available. So if I go to database and I go down to the drop-down setup, I can go to line, and for that category I've added for service, I can come in and I can add a field for service. So for service, these are the two types of services we want to have available. The other one is DO, and then for count, we have 4 different lines we're working with in this small project, and that's line 1000, line 4000, line 4001, line 4002, and so now we have all the information that we have available for that line number. So users can now go in there a lot easier, and as they're drawing their lines, they don't have to manually type in everything. They can just pick from a nice pull down and choose the correct line numbers for these lines. So here we can see that this line is an 8-inch line. We can see that we are going to apply a service and account. So if we go to additional data, here are those pull downs we've created by going into that template. So this line is actually that service. The count for this is 4000, and now we have that line in the actual project. So what I'm going to do here is now annotate this line. So instead of having to go in there manually and type in all the information, I use my line numbering setup to actually apply a line number a little bit more dynamically. Once that's done, we can actually come in and we can place a valve. I'm going to start doing a little control loop here, and you can see if we have the actual properties assigned to a line, the valve picks up that information. So it understands as I'm inserting a valve, that valve is going to be an 8-inch valve according to the line. So I'm going to come in and just drop in a few other things here. And I'm going to bring in a reducer. So since my reduction size is already set, it understands that it reduces from 8 to 4. Now it's just looking for the valve or the other component that actually reduces. So I'm going to come in and insert the other reducer on the other side. In that, and for my bypass line, that's going to be a 4-inch line. So I'm going to change the size there, and I'm going to choose a secondary line for that here. So if we went too far, we can simply just do an undo and end it in the correct location. So I want to go ahead and insert a glow valve. I'm going to insert that glow valve here. It understands now that's a 4-inch line. And the next thing we want to do is we want to start adding instruments. So one thing I do want to do is come into the setup and turn on annotation. This is going to allow me to insert the, fill in the correct information for the attributes as I'm drawing in these instruments. So my first instrument is going to be an instrument line. This is going to be a PI. So I'm going to type in the PI. And for the rest of the instruments, I could go in there and type in the tag for each one. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you how we can do that a little bit quicker. So now the next instrument that we need is a PT. So I'm going to come in and put that PT in there. This is actually an electric line, so I'll choose that. And I'm not going to fill that in. I'll do that later. And then I'm going to come in and choose a PIC. And this is also an electrical line. So I'll fill in the actual function here. And we'll come in and add a few other analog symbols. So this is going to be an instrument. Actually, this is a pneumatic line. So I'm going to choose a pneumatic line, and this is a PY. And I'm going to go in and add our last instrument. I'm going to turn off that ortho. And this is an instrument line. And we're going to end this with a PCV. So okay, so we're almost done here. To finish this loop, I need to add another instrument line. So these lines that we're drawing in, this pneumatic line is the electrical lines, instrumentation, and the instrument lines are all available here. So we can always go back here and select the lines that we want and finish these instruments off if we need to. So I'm going to draw an instrument line from this symbol to this symbol, and now I finished my instrument. Now we do know that this loop here is the same loop number 100. So instead of going in and modifying each one, what we can do is we can actually combine these instruments, and then we can modify just one. Okay. We can also modify them, and notice that these bubbles break. Okay, so the bubbles will break and will mend as we change this text. I'm going to make all those loops loop 100, and then just accept that change there. Okay, so now we're going to move on, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some linking. We're going to draw some lines that are going to continue off to another drawing, but before we do that, the first thing we want to do is make sure we have the right size set up, and we'll go ahead and start with a major line here. We'll say this line is going to go off to here. And this line is actually CU 4001, and we have another line that continues on from here to here and also goes off the drawing. And this line is actually CU 4002. So now the only thing we have left to do is basically annotate these two lines. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we have these two lines annotated. We can come in and we can add some arrows, so some link arrows, identifying that there's a continuation onto a different P&ID. So I'm going to choose a continue to arrow, and I'm just going to go ahead and place that here. I'm going to do the same thing for this line. You notice as I drop in these symbols, it also picks up that property of what that information is on that line, what that line number is. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and save this drawing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm ready to continue off on another drawing. So I'm going to open a new drawing. I am working with the database. I'm working with that same project. So let me just make sure I am looking at the right project directory. I'm going to call this P&ID 2. And we just want to do a few simple things. We want to come in and make sure we have a good border in the drawing. I want to make sure I have a good specification I'm working with. And I know I'm working with 150, and that's a 6-inch line that actually continues off on this drawing. So now I have all that set. So I'm going to choose just a simple vessel here, and I'm going to draw it from here to here. And this vessel, we're going to give it a name of V301. And now for the lines, we can actually come in and just go ahead and start drawing them. So for this line, we know what the service is, we know what the count is, and as I hit OK, the program indicates, it gives it a little alert and it's indicating that this line is already exists in another drawing. So that's okay. We're aware of that. We're also going to change this one line before we link it. We're going to choose a service, the actual count. Again, it gives us that same indicator that this line is actually on another drawing. So now what we want to do is just add those link arrows. So we can say this is actually coming from another drawing. So I can come in and place that link arrow. Okay, so we can take a closer look here. Now all we need to do is basically double-click that arrow, and we'll get this little dialog box. It allows us to go in and make a link. So depending, on the size of your project, you can have this line maybe go through several drawings. Here we only have this line going through P&ID 1, so I can select it. Now it understands that there's a continuation between drawings. So I've made that statement there, and I can also make this link for this one drawing here. Okay. So now we can finish it off by maybe placing a few annotations here if we want to do that. So we're done for this drawing for now. Now what we can do is go back to this drawing, and all we need to do is basically synchronize. And as we synchronize, it rereads the database information and understands that this line number is actually connected to a different P&ID drawing. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is, let's see, the next thing we had on the list was actually adding to a menu symbol. Okay, so we're going to take this loop and we're going to create a block off of it. So we need to get some information first before we do that. I'm going to take the distance from this valve to this valve, and we can see that that axis and delta x is actually 2.75 units. So we're just going to kind of take a mental note of that. And what we need to do is we need to create a block of this assembly here. So I'm going to pick the insertion point. This is going to be the insertion point as I'm inserting this this block, and I want all of this information to be part of my block. Now, if you're asking yourself, if I am creating new blocks, where does this information, where do these new symbols go? Well, these new symbols need to go inside the CADWorx support directory. I'm going to go ahead and call this PRM loop and save it. Okay, so once our block has been created, now we can actually go to the menu symbols here, okay, and we can decide where exactly are we going to place this this loop I've created. Well, I'm going to go ahead and place it under this toolbar, this button here, and that's valves regular. So I can come in and I can say I want to add an item. Okay, we're going to add the item to the bottom of this list. So I want to add an item, and I do have my block, so I'm just going to go look for that PRM file we created, and we're going to say this is actually a break distance of 2.75, and we're going to bring it in at a scale of 1. I don't want any attributed information to be applied to this block, and so I'm going to choose none. And for that layer, we have that layer we created, so we're going to choose that, and I'm going to call this PRM loop assembly. So I'm done. Now we have a new block inside the valve dialog box. Okay, so for the for the menu symbol file for Intergraph, we will always have this PRM loop assembly available throughout projects if we're using the same menu file everywhere, or through drawings. So now what I can do is I can actually insert this loop we've created. What I'll do is, I don't want to insert it in this drawing. I'll just go ahead and insert it on this drawing here, and I'm just going to draw a line. I'm going to have the line just go out there, and we're going to bring in that loop we created. So I'm going to go here to the valves, and we can see it here in the list. So I can choose that and very easily come in here and just place it where I want to. Now, we do have to keep in mind that as these blocks are being inserted, they are breaking the line, so it breaks it at a distance of 2.75, but they are blocked, so the database doesn't understand that there's any external data here in these two items we've inserted. So the only thing we need to do to invoke these to being from a block to a CADWorx entity is just simply explode them. So as we explode them, we can see that now they're CADWorx entities. Every valve is a valve, a CADWorx valve. Every instrument is a CADWorx instrument. So we now have two loops. Okay, so what we're going to do is just combine these, that loop there, and then combine this loop here, so we can easily come in here very quickly and just update the actual loop number. So this is loop 200, and then this is loop 200. Okay, so now we have a total of not 200 but 300. So now we have a total of 3 loops inside this project database: 100, 200, and 300. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just do the change text conversion there, accept that change, and the next thing I want to do, so what you've seen here is how easy we can go in there and add blocks to the actual menu symbol file. It's very simple to do. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to take just a brief look at converting legacy drawings. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a drawing. It was actually created in a different application. Being that it was created in different applications, they are blocks, but they're just AutoCAD blocks with different attributes in them. Okay, so we're going to take this information that's here and we're going to create them, we're going to convert them to CADWorx entities. Okay, so before I do that, I'm just going to save this drawing out and I'm going to place it here in my project directory. I'm going to call that PID 3. I'm going to save that. So the only thing we need to do to all of these blocks, we may have some instruments that are just AutoCAD attributes. We have some valves. We're not going to do the whole drawing. We're just going to do a few things here to show you the concept of converting a legacy drawing to an intelligent CADWorx P&ID drawing. So the first thing we need to do is just basically go to P&ID accessories. We go to add data, and we get to choose from the different tables. Okay, so we have all of these tables available. The one we want to work with is the valve table. So I'm going to take a closer look here at this area, and I'm going to choose these 3 valves here. Okay, so I've chosen those 3 valves. These 3 valves are now going to be part of the vessel group. Did I choose vessel? No, valve group. So they're going to be part of the valve group. Okay, so now all I have to do at this time is basically, I choose the wrong command here. I should choose, so I'm going to go to accessories, add X data. It's going to be added to the valve table. I choose those 3 valves once again. It must have already added them for me. Let's try a few others here. So I did choose the right thing. So I'm going to say add X data. I'm going to add those valves to the valve table. I choose this valve, this one, and this one. And so all we need to do basically is come in and we can say, okay, the size is actually going to be mapped to the size attribute within this drawing, within this AutoCAD attribute. So I simply select what's available within our database to what's available within their AutoCAD attribute, and I map it. So now I can come in here and I can say tag is actually going to be mapped to this, and I map that. Okay, and then we have another one, we have spec, so we can map a spec to spec in the AutoCAD attribute. So once we do that, we can close it. We don't have to map the other ones, or we can just map them to none. So it was that simple. We basically grabbed what attributes were familiar to us within this attribute block to the ones that are available within P&ID, and now all of these valves are intelligent. They're actually CADWorx P&ID valves. So you can see too, if we go to additional data, we have data that has been applied to these valves. Now we have another component here. We have this this vessel, so we can see this vessel also has some information here. What we want to do is actually convert this vessel to an intelligent vessel inside CADWorx P&ID. So we're just going to do this one more time. We're going to go to add X data, and I'm going to make this part of the vessel group. And all I have to do is basically tag those attributes that are available to us to the ones that are available within this one block, and I'll map just the tag field, and I'll close it. So now this valve is actually a CADWorx entity, so now it has some information in there we can actually fill out. So again, the process behind going in there and converting these P&ID blocks is available, and it's a lot easier. It goes a lot quicker if you do have blocks that have attributes in them. Okay, so it'll pick up the information that's already existing and time to the fields that are available in CADWorx P&ID. The next thing we want to do is just show you a few tools that are inside CADWorx P&ID. So we're done with the conversion process here. I'm going to go ahead and close that one drawing. So we can take a look at this this drawing here. Let's take a closer look at this one loop. One of the things we can do inside CADWorx P&ID is come in and we can go to database, and we can do multiple edit. We can do a global edit. We can come in here, we can choose a line we want to modify. It goes in and grabs all the different entities that are available on that line. And we can start doing a filter. I can come in and filter the different valves that are available. So it'll go in and grab all the valves. So I can come in and I can just add a tag for a valve, so I can copy that and paste it on these two valves. So it's very easy to go in and globally make changes if we want to do that. So I can come in and all I have to do is update DB and drawing, so you can see that it actually updated that P&ID very quickly. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is I want to show you one other tool, and that other tool is the block manager. The block manager also allows us to go in there globally and update blocks that are inside the P&ID without you having to delete them and reinsert them. So we can do that by going to accessories. We can go into database, and we can go into the block manager. And for the block manager, I can simply come in and I can say I want to be looking at what type of components. I want to be looking at the valve. I want to be looking at the regular valves that are inside this drawing. I want to be looking at the gate valves. Okay. And let's take a look here. So I want to be looking at the regular valves. I can select all the valves that are available for regular valves, and those are all those valves. And then I can simply come in and I can say, okay, I want to change all of these valves to a different block within the existing menu symbol file that I'm using. Well, I don't want to go in and change all of them. All I want to change are these two valves that you see here on the screen. So those two valves are actually these two here. Okay, and these are 8-inch valves, and we should show a representation of the valves being flanged. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of come in here and change the symbol to a flange symbol. Okay, so I'm going to change that existing symbol to this symbol. So I can say change the block, so it's now changed it from the existing block to this new block. And to update it in the drawing, all I have to do is hit this button, apply change in the drawing. So you can see those valves have actually been updated to the updated symbol. Okay. So those are just a few little things we can do in CADWorx P&ID. We've gone over some things in basic drafting. We've gone through adding some things in the menu symbol. We've gone through what it takes to actually convert a legacy drawing to an to a CADWorx P&ID drawing. We've gone over a couple of tools. Now the last few things we want to go over is how to generate a loop diagram, how to go in there and update the information in the table, in the actual, how to generate the actual creation of them. And then we'll run through Internet Publisher, and last thing we'll do is data sheets. And we'll try to do that in about 10-15 minutes since our time is running out. Okay, so now the first thing we want to do if we wanted to create a loop diagram is we need to go in and create a table. And the second thing we do after the table has been created is we generate loops. So to create a table, you basically have to go and create an AutoCAD drawing that has fields in the brackets, and the fields that are in brackets is actually the text that the database recognizes and allows the use of the database tables for us to update information and push information on the actual loop diagram itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and grab a template that I have here. I have this PRM diagram, and all that the database is reading is it's pulling in the information from these texts here that appear in these less than, greater than symbols. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to copy that. I'm going to copy it from here and just paste them on down. Okay, so I'll paste those on down, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a simple revision here to this text that's here. This is tray 2, and then we'll change this one to 3, and then this last one to 4. Okay, so we've made a simple revision. This is basically what your loop diagram looks like. Everything that you see in these symbols, again, gets pulled into the database table, and then we have easy access to the database table itself, or we can go through an editor and update the information for the specific loops. So what I'm going to do here is just, I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to call this just PRM. I'm going to close this. So now that I have my loop diagram created, I can go and add that loop diagram to the database. And like I said, we go here by going and creating a table in the database. So the first thing it asks for is, where is this loop template located? I select that. And again, everything, those less and greater than symbols, it goes and extracts all that text and creates a column in the table for it. So here are those 4 attributes we added. If we want to change the location of any of these, we can simply select those 2 buttons to move them, to position them in the correct location in the table. So once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and say OK. It goes and reads the entire project, and it understands there's 3 loops in the actual project we're working on right now. So we'll now go ahead and generate those loops. But before we do that, instead of just generating them, what I'd like to do is populate some information into the table so we can see some information actually be extracted. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a CADWorx loop table editor. If you're not already using this, this is available inside the systems directory inside P&ID. All you have to do is install the utility. So I'm going to go in and select the project that I'm working on. It understands we have a PRM loop table. And if we scroll all the way to the end, we can see that here are all those different fields we added. So I can use this, this little option we have here to fill in this information. We can say I wanted to have this type of format. It's going to start at a start number at 1, and it's going to step up by one unit. So we have that, and we can continue on doing the same thing for the other one. I'm just going to do the second tray, and that'll be it for the presentation, so you just get the idea. So it fills that out for us. So now I'm just going to hit the update button. I'm going to go ahead and say OK and OK here. So now I can go in and I can generate those actual loop diagrams. So I can say generate loops. It found that table in the database. It found these 3 loops. I choose the loops that I want to generate. and I go ahead and say OK, and it's going to dump them out to this loops folder I had specified in my config file. So here are those 3 loops. So now I can go to my project folder and it dumped those 3 drawings here, and I can simply open those so we can take a look at them. Okay, so here's one of the loops, another loop, and another loop. Okay, so this is how we would create loop diagrams. Just keep in mind you need a template. You can update the actual table through the editor, and then it's very easy to go in there and just simply generate those. Now the next thing is IP. So I can once we have a project that's completed inside CADWorx P&ID, if we want to, we have the option of actually publishing it out to an HTML page, and this project can actually be uploaded to an internal website, to an external website on the intranet or internet, so certain people can review the information on a specific project. To do that, we have CADWorx IP that gets installed with CADWorx P&ID Professional, and all we need to do to use this utility is basically go in and go through a wizard, which is very easy to go through. So as soon as you open IP, you see this dialog box that comes up, and it prompts you to go and select the actual project config file. So I'll select that, and then it's asking me for a project name. So for project name, I'll just type in P&ID overview, and then and I'm going to call this IP project. The IP project is actually the name the folder is going to be given. So as I go next, it's saying, okay, I understand that you have 2 drawings in the database. The P&ID 3 was never really opened again and not inserted into the database, so that's not why it's not appearing here. So we have P&ID 1 and P&ID 2. If we don't want to show one or the other, we can simply hit the yes or no button, and we'll go through the next. We have the ability of choosing from the different tables. If we don't want to show any we don't want to show any purchasing information here, we can turn those fields from displaying to not displaying by hitting yes, no. So we'll just continue on. For the reports, selection, what these are is, as you saw in the beginning, I went and I did a report on the valve that was inside the project. Well, those reports can be saved out to a snapshot, and if those snapshot files are created, if you put them in a reports folder, as you run the Internet Publisher wizard, it'll pick them up. So it understood that there's a few reports, it understands there's a few loop drawings, and all I have to do now is give it a publish location. So I can just publish it anywhere I want. If in the project directory, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in this temp folder. So it goes through, opens every P&ID, and it creates a DWF file of these to view in the actual viewer, and then what you see in the end is actually a log file of what's been created. So what we can do now is we can actually hit the yes, I want to go ahead and view this this actual project, IP project. And so what we'll see are all the drawings that the project recognized, starting off with the P&ID 1, okay. P&ID 2, we have some loops that it found. We have some reports that it found as well. So we kind of take a look at the snapshot. We can see a process line list, and I can open that. And it's basically just a report that we created off of Access, off of this project. Okay, so that's all that is. So if we go back and take a look at the P&ID one, we can also come in here. If we click on the pump, remember we attached this PDF. So through this viewer, somebody can come in and actually open any attachments that have been applied to a specific piece of equipment. Okay, so that's Internet Publisher for you. And the last thing is data sheets. I'm going to go ahead and close this current tab and close IP. So the last thing is data sheets. We're going to leave this drawing open, and we're going to kind of take a close look at these two symbols. We're going to take a close look at this PI and then this vessel. So for datasheets also comes with CADWorx P&ID. All you have to do is install it. The utility is inside the systems folder inside P&ID install directory. We're going to start off with CADWorx instrument datasheets, and we're going to create a new project. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm creating a database that we use to populate the P&ID database. Okay, so we're not directly populating the database within P&ID. We have this database that we're creating right now. Let me just type this in. We have this database that we're creating right now that works between the P&ID project database and the datasheets themselves. So this is what we're actually directly working on when we're inside datasheets. So I'm going to create a data sheet called Instruments. I can come in and fill out all this information. The most important thing is looking for it's the P&ID database directory. So it wants to look for where my project is. It wants to know where that MDB file for that project is. Once I've done that, I can exit, and it's very simple to come in and create a data sheet. All we have to do is basically come in and we can say populate. It'll go through and query the entire project, and it'll let me choose from the different instruments that are available. I'll look at that PI. That PI is the one we have currently open. And then what I can do as after we have that instrument inside the data sheet, we can search for a data sheet template. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and search for a pressure instrument data sheet. So I'll select that. Okay. So the pressure for the actual data sheet that we have available within data sheets itself, it's basically a template that we give you. We give you a format that you can go in there fully customize. And the way this all works is basically if we go to a P&ID database map table, we have to go in there and map the database columns to the sheet itself so it can populate it. So if we take a look at service, we'll need to find out what the column and row is. So if we go back to that sheet, we can see that for service we need AD11. So we can come back to the P&ID database, and if we type in AD11, okay, and we save this, then we close it, okay. If we come in and now since it's mapped, we can actually go into the instrument itself, and we can come in and type in a service for this, and I'll type in CU for this and say OK. Now I can go back into the instrument and I can say import if I want to, and it updates our data sheet. So now all I have to do is rerun that data sheet so we can see the actual information be updated here in this data sheet. So the process behind this is very simple. The information goes back and forth. If I want to make a change here, I could in the data sheet. I'm going to add just PRM to that service, and I can save the data sheet, and it understands information has been updated. So it brings in that information. I can also hit an export, and it sends the information back to my P&ID database, and the information has now been carried to the actual P&ID itself. The same thing works. It works the same way for data sheets for equipment. So let me do that very quickly with this vessel 201. So I'm going to go to data sheets, equipment data sheets, and I'm going to start a new equipment database. I'm going to go to the data sheets. I'm going to create a database called equipment. And again, we can fill out all this information, but the most important thing at once is that P&ID database again. So we'll go in and look for that project database. We'll select the project database, and we'll hit save and exit. Now this works just a little bit different. What we need to do here is we need to go to the pressure vessel, and we need to type in the actual valve name. So I'm going to type in V201. And now we can go to the All tab, and we can assign a data sheet now for this one vessel. So the data sheet name I'm going to be giving this is actual is going to be called Vessel 201. I'm creating a data sheet that's at this moment. I'm giving the file a file name. So now we can come in and I can look for a the data sheet that I want to attach to this actual vessel. So I can select that. Now, one of the things that we added to that vessel in the P&ID is actually the the manufacturer. And for our presentation here, all I did was basically come in and I said the manufacturer is actually Intergraph. So what I'm going to do is go back to the data sheet, and if I look to the map table, we can see that there is no manufacturer available here. So all we need to do is, if you're curious as to what information this is and where it's reading it from, well, it's reading it from the map, from the database TBL file. So here I can actually go to the mechanical portion of the file, and I can see that for manufacturer, this is the name inside the database. So I can copy that, and I can come back and place that field here. I'm just going to copy this on down, and I'm actually going to populate page 1 of 6. And now all I need to do is go back and identify, okay, I want the information to appear here in this cell, so that's K15. So I'll go back to the map table, and I'll type in, this is column K, row 15. Okay, so as I save this, okay, I can close this data sheet now, and all I have to do now is import. It imports the Intergraph name. If I go back to the data sheet, that Intergraph name has also been imported. Okay, so we've covered everything I had on that list, and I'm going to end my presentation here. We can take a question or two.
Great. Thank you so much, Sonia. Great presentation. Thank you. Okay, I guess we have time maybe for 2 questions. First question, can you link an instrument to a piece of equipment, for example, pressure transmitter to pressure vessel?
An instrument to
a piece of equipment?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, if we go, no, I'm not sure. We'll have to get back to that. I mean, we can certainly go in and attach an instrument to that vessel. I mean, just like we did to that line. But I'm not sure if this information is saved or carried anywhere as to the connection from the instrument to that vessel. Okay.
Okay, so we'll get back. We'll answer that question in the question file.
Well, we'll need a little bit more clarification on it too.
Okay, next one. Can you edit the tables after creating a new project?
Yes, and now the process for updating a table after a project has been created is a little different. It's not as smooth as you would hope, right? So since the table is already created, what we need to do is actually go inside the
last question. What about the piping class change and how we can show it?
Hang on, Elvira. Let me answer their question, okay?
Hello?
Just give me one. Can you hear me?
Sonia?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, I was going to answer that second question, okay?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so what we need to do is, if you need to add something to the database after the fact, after it's been created, you simply have to go in and add a column. So you add a column, and you also have to come in here and to the database table itself and add that information to the corresponding table, and that's how you would do it after the fact. And I think that's all. I don't think I'm missing anything. So you do those 2 things. So the third question was what?
Are you there, Sonia?
Yes,
I'm
here.
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I think we would like to conclude on this. We will be able to answer all of your questions if you go back to the Insider blog, the questions will be posted, the question with answers will be posted to our blog post in a couple of days. Of course, always please feel free to email us with your questions. The recorded version of this webinar will also be posted to our Insider blog in a couple of days. And thank you very much, guys, for joining us today. I would like to thank Sonia again for this presentation. I would like to thank Ben for handling questions. And thank you very much, and have a great week. Bye.